Amadeus makes the experience of travel better for everyone everywhere by inspiring innovation, partnerships, and responsibility to people, places, and planet. Our technology powers the travel and tourism industry, inspiring more open ways of working, more connected ways of thinking, centered around the traveler. Our open platform connects the global travel and hospitality ecosystem, from startups to big industry players and governments too. Together, redesigning the travel of tomorrow. Amadeus, it's how travel works. Visit us to know more, amadeus.com.
Welcome to another episode of the Skift India podcast. I'm your host, Peden, and today we have the founder and CEO of Skift, Rafat Ali, joining us for this podcast. Rafat is here to discuss something that's very dear to both our hearts, and that is the Skift India Summit. After the successful launch of our India newsletter, the Skift India Report, the Skift India Travel podcast that you're listening to right now, and our recent Indian research reports, the Skift India Summit happening in Delhi-NCR on March 20th and 21st is going to change the way you look at summits, especially travel-related summits, B2B summits, and Rafat is going to talk more about it. Welcome, Rafat, and please let us know, what is happening at the Skift India Summit?
Hey, Peden, thank you for having me on your podcast. And just to say that Peden is our rock star at Skift, and if you haven't met her, you'll surely meet her. And if you haven't gotten a call from her, asking her to give you the details for the story, I'm sure you'll get a call very soon from her as well. So it's near and dear to my heart, and obviously Peden's heart as well, because we're Indians, and also because India is such an incredible point in its evolution. All the stuff that everybody else is talking about in the world and in India, and from a travel perspective, we at Skift have been talking about how India will become the largest global outbound force in the coming 5 to 7 years. Based on the numbers that are traveling now outside India, and then how domestic tourism market in India has completely changed during the pandemic, where it brought out a whole new generation of people that were obviously initially locked down and have discovered travel as a leisure opportunity that will continue to only grow. So those two things, the giant Indian domestic market. India, as you know, has now become the most populous country in the world this year, surpassing China. So certainly just the numbers are there.
Yeah, and Rafat, if I may point out, we were the first ones to talk about the fact that India is the new China when the reordering of travel in Asia happens. This was a mega trend for us, and you and Seth have discussed it about the demographic advantage that India has vis-a-vis China.
Yeah, and I've been obsessed with demographics really since last year. I've read tons of books. Obviously, I've read a lot in relation to India, and India's population will continue to grow until about 2065. So it has at least another 40 years of demographic dividend to reap on. And unlike other countries in the world, including China, where population has been falling off a cliff, their birth rates have been below their replacement rates, and this is true in a bunch of Asian countries. Japan, obviously, being the biggest example of it in the world today. South Korea as well. So India is in just a great position demographically, but also economically as the middle class becomes bigger and bigger. And then on the luxury end, everybody. So Peter and I are just coming off Skift Global Forum, which is our conference in New York that we've been doing for 10 years now. And it's the biggest, the most prestigious global conference in the travel industry. And the excitement opportunity about two big regions in the world that we are very focused on, just so happens, is Middle East and India. The corridor of Middle East to India, the two regions that are very well connected historically and continue to be from a people, from a culture, from a business, from a social perspective, um, is where the biggest opportunity in global travel lies. And so for us as a company, editorially, research wise, events wise, marketing wise, those are the regions we're very focused on geographically. Um, we also happen to now have India is now we have 6 employees in India. We'll continue to grow as well. So from an editorial perspective, Peden, as you mentioned, obviously we're doing this newsletter. You came in 2 years ago, maybe more than that at this point,
A year and a half ago, Rafat.
year and a half ago. But has made you've made a huge impact covering the industry in India for the Indian travel industry, but also for the larger world to understand all the changes that are happening in India. And then on our research side, we've been doing research reports. We have 4 analysts based in India on the research side, um, covering the Indian traveler. We did a recent report on Indian
Yes.
outbound traveler, and then more to come. So for us, India Summit. So I've been dreaming this for 11 years
Mhm.
as an Indian. I really want a conference in India. Personally, I would love my mom to come and see what I actually do for a living. And so for her, my family lives in Aligarh. And so, and my sisters and brother, they live in Delhi. So for them, would be a great opportunity for them to come and see me on stage. So that's just personal. Um, my mamu, everybody, they all want to come to my conference. So there'll be next year there'll be a wing which is a Rafat's family wing at the conference as part of it. So certainly that'll be great. Professionally, um, Peden, you can tell better like what exists today in terms of conferences in travel in India.
Yeah, that's why I said that this is something that's going to leave everyone gobsmacked because they've not seen something like this. I have been to this is my second global forum. I've been to the Skift Global Forum East as well, and I know the kind of and I see why people are willing to pay money to come and listen to these things because
Mhm.
this is something like they say, this is something that money can't buy. The kind of discussions that come out, the kind of people that you meet. I have seen people, we may not be having the typical booths that everyone has, but I've seen people conducting business by just meeting such really important people there, people who you would not usually meet at events.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah,
I think India should be prepared for something like this, and we are going to. I'm sorry if I sound a bit smug, but I think we are going to set the bar really high.
yeah, 100%. I mean, again, we're Indians going. We're Indians coming to India. I mean, I'm Indian, and obviously you are based there, coming to do really substantive discussions that are important for the Indian market, but also for the global market that wants to come. And as we said at Global Forum, so many of the speakers that I spoke to off stage, backstage, even on stage, and then attendees are so interested because they heard we announced this last month that we're launching this, and so they're aware of it. Everybody's very interested in coming, and like some of the big
Mhm.
speakers that spoke on stage, global speakers that spoke on stage here in New York, uh, want to come to India to come to speak at this, not only because they want to speak, but also because this is the market that they want to expand in. Um, Hilton CEO spoke on stage. Hilton, Peden, tell me if I'm incorrect, but I think Marriott has the most number out of the global brands. Marriott has the most number
Yes,
of
yes.
hotels. Hilton is behind in
Yes,
terms of
it's
expansion.
fairly behind. It's fairly behind. It has very limited properties, but they're planning to grow in
Grow a
India
lot,
because
so
they've
they're
realized the
very
opportunity.
correct. And I talked to Chris Nassetta, the CEO of Hilton, off stage before he went on stage. He opened the conference, and he is very very keen on expanding into India. And I would say many of the people that I spoke to want to expand into India at the expense of China, because for all the reasons that we don't have to fully go into in this podcast, but the geopolitical challenges with China um, are are a long term challenge that and the China outbound traveler, even though China has been open for what, pretty much all of this year, maybe, or
Yes,
the last
they opened early February.
February, so have not come out in the numbers that everybody expected them to start coming out with. So, and it's not just a temporary thing. Everybody we spoke to said this is potentially a long term thing. So, so that's why India becomes such an important market. We also, as you said, as I mentioned, we also heard so much about Middle East and particularly the opening in Saudi as well. So this corridor um, from from Middle East to India is a very important corridor that we will discuss at the Skift India Summit. We'll also discuss the Skift Global Forum East, which is in December in Dubai as well. And we had those discussions last year as well when we did this. So that's what I think. And I think the difference that you know very well, Peden, because you conduct these interviews on stage, um, is that editorial for us is sacrosanct, and we have deep, important discussions. These conferences, we put so much effort into preparation with the speakers from before, with their teams and the speakers themselves, and we're covering this daily. Like this is what we live, breathe, and
Yeah,
sleep.
and Rafat, if I may just add that, we announced the India conference. It's happening in March, and we announced it in August. So 7 months ahead, so that just goes to show the kind of preparation that has gone into it.
Yes,
If we
yes,
are
yes. I
announcing
agree.
something 7 months ahead, that only means that, the kind of work that has been going into it.
Yeah, and we really put a lot of our global forum that we do in New York. Like we're going to start working on 2024 event now, and so we put a lot of effort, especially if you're trying to invite big name public company speakers from the globe. Their schedules lock up very quickly. So our intent is, so let's talk about our intent in terms of speakers. Our intent is to gather all the top players in the Indian ecosystem: airlines, hotels, tourism, tour operators, travel agents, tech players, um, all in one place, which is a novel thing, as you know, in
Yes,
travel. You would assume, looking from the
yes,
outside, well, why is it novel? It's novel because typically the travel industry is very siloed.
yes, absolutely.
Hotel investment folks only go to the hotel
Hotel.
investment conferences.
Mhm.
They hear the same speakers, and I'll talk about the room versus the networking in a second. Um, Airline people only go to airline conferences. Um, or tourism and travel agents only go to those types of like booth trade show type things. And this is true across the world. It's not just true in India. This is true across the world. And so the global forum, when we created, and now that we've created this for India as well, is it cuts across the board and has a very good orchestral view. That's a term I've been using a lot, like orchestra conductor overlooks the whole orchestra, and this is the whole travel industry, and is able to see the connections between this part of the industry and that part of the industry. Because our philosophy has always been, why do we cover all of these sectors on travel and Skift? Because the traveler does not care. The traveler of today does not care about the industry silos. They are equipped with their mobile phones, with digital connections, and they're cutting across all these value chains or these silos that the industry has defined for itself. They don't care. And so the industry has to look across the board. It's the thing that's always fascinated me forever is that the airline industry has no idea the second the people that are on their plane for 1 hour, 2 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours, however long the flight is, they have no idea the second they step off the plane where these people are going. No idea, which is an incredible thing to think about. Like, it should all be connected somehow. But in 2023 and 24, when we do this conference, we're nowhere near that vision. but that cross learning is very important. And so that's what we're going to try and do at the global forum, at the Skift India Summit.
Amadeus makes the experience of travel better for everyone everywhere by inspiring innovation, partnerships, and responsibility to people, places, and planet. Our technology powers the travel and tourism industry, inspiring more open ways of working, more connected ways of thinking, centered around the traveler. Our open platform connects the global travel and hospitality ecosystem, from startups to big industry players and governments too. Together, redesigning the travel of tomorrow. Amadeus, it's how travel works. Visit us to know more, amadeus.com.
And Rafat, also you mentioned a very important point about bringing everyone together, because of course, in India also, the thing is that I think there is a great potential in India's inbound tourism, but that is not being showcased in the right manner. And I think this, with so many people, international people coming in, this is also the perfect opportunity for India to showcase what it's all about, with the states and with the Ministry of Tourism coming in. I think this would be a perfect platform for them to show to an international market what India is all about. Because as the inbound tourism is nothing great in India. We're struggling to get 10 million
Yeah,
tourists in.
well, tell me, and I was there in August, and you and I chatted this, and we met with a lot of industry people. We did a dinner. We had a lot of top industry folks. This was a topic that came up, which is, sure, domestic tourism is booming. Sure, the India outbound is booming, which is obviously benefit to all the players in the rest, outside of India. Um, but the Indian inbound market seems kind of stuck. Like, what's your um, big picture view on that?
Yes, I think inbound tourism. I mean, we've been promoting India as a 12-month destination. Anyone can come in at any point in time, and what we have. We have from the mountains to the beaches to everything. But I guess that is not being conveyed in a convincing manner, so that more people can come in, because our inbound tourism numbers are very thin. And of course there are various geopolitical issues that come in, like
Right.
Canada is one of our fifth largest market
Yeah.
as far as inbound tourism is concerned, but now there are no visas happening. But
Right.
in spite of that, I think we should be able to tap into that crowd, because see what Thailand is doing. A small country like Thailand, Sri Lanka, what have they done? They've
Yeah.
come out from that economic recession, and travel is booming in these places. And so why can't India do it?
Yeah, and I mean, you would have argued, I don't know, 10 years ago, that the infrastructure isn't there, but now the infrastructure, particularly for these tourism corridors, have has come up very fast. Um,
Absolutely. I mean, like, if you look at the road infrastructure, the trains, the railway stations are getting privatized. And if you talk about, and you made a very good point, Rafat, about Middle East, because a lot of the traffic that's coming into India and going out of India is connected by the Middle East, the Middle Eastern carriers.
those carriers, yeah, literally Middle East carriers, and we know this firsthand from coming to India all the time, using Middle East carriers, but also obviously just reporting on it, is that the Middle East carriers would not exist if the Indian traffic, at least on the route between North America, Europe, and India, would not exist
Correct.
if the Indian crowd wasn't coming. I just when I came to India
Absolutely.
uh,
Why
in
else
August.
would Tim Clark be wanting Emirates to have more seat capacity from India?
From
They've been
India.
fighting about it.
Yeah, so we will have those discussions, and we'll be a little more advanced in the Air India plans by then, and obviously Indigo has ordered these planes as well,
Yes.
and so these giant, world's biggest order of planes will be a big topic of discussion at India Summit. Um, these global hotel chains really looking to expand into India will be a big topic of discussion. Um, the the online travel market that is today dominated by the Make My Trip group in India, right? It'd be fair to say they're the
Yes, yes,
dominant
of
player.
course. Yeah.
Um, uh, and what are the other, what are the international OTAs doing? Booking Group, Booking, I think it's Booking.com
Yes,
itself. That's a
booking.com.
sponsor.
Yes, but
Is the
booking.com and
sponsor.
Agoda both.
Are both are making big strides, and Booking is a sponsor of the World Cup coming up
Yes,
as
yes,
well,
they are.
cricket World Cup. So they're trying to make, obviously that must have cost a lot of money. So obviously they're looking at making a big splash in India, continue to make a big splash in India, and so we'll have a discussion around online and online travel tech in India. We will have discussions, as we just mentioned, about the tourism, around state tourism and inbound tourism as well. So it'll be a very holistic discussion that I'm excited about, and that not only will be obviously people who will come and benefit from it, but we have Skift. I mean, we will broadcast this through stories and video, etc., analysis through Skift, our newsletters, our website, our social media platforms as well. So we'll have a global audience in terms of people who will get a very good sense of what the Indian market is.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Rafat, because I want people to understand how we have put so much thought into the Skift India Summit. You spoke about global hotel chains, and if you
Yeah,
know, we have such good relations with global hotel chains. Coming
at the
from
global level, right?
yeah, everywhere around the world. But still, we decided to do the event at a place like Leela, which has very Indian. It's a very Indian
It's
company
Indian
in the
brand,
sense
Indian
it's
brand.
an
Yeah,
Indian brand. So
yeah.
yeah, can you talk a little bit about that as
Yes,
well?
I can. I can. Yeah, yeah. Huge fans of Leela Group. That's now owned by Brookfield. Brookfield is a giant real estate firm. It's a Canadian firm. Had big offices here in New York, um, and they bought Leela 2 years ago, or was it last year? Um,
2 years ago, I think.
2 years ago, I think. And Leela is a luxury hotel company. Started as palaces, and they take over some, and they've started building some new build as well, and has global ambitions now, particularly as part of Brookfield. And Shore is smaller than some of the other luxury homegrown players, but is obviously more aggressive just because they're smaller. They're more ambitious, and so when we started talking to them, it came together very quickly. They were very interested at India level and at the global headquarters level of tying up with Skift, because they wanted to showcase um, their ambitions to the not just the Indian travel industry, but the global travel industry through people who are coming here, but also through Skift as well in general. So I'm excited. The opening event will be at the Leela Palace in Delhi, which I think many of you.
Chanakapuri, the Chanakapuri one.
Yes, and
Yes,
and
where we
and
hosted our dinner as well.
we hosted our dinner, and obviously so many people, I'm sure even listening to this, have been to Delhi, to this hotel, because it's such an iconic hotel in Delhi for many years. And then the this is on March 20th evening, and we'll obviously, people who register will get the details as we come closer to the date. And then the full program, the full day conference will be in March 21st at the Leela
Ambience.
Ambiance Mall, which is in Gurgaon. So this
Gurgaon.
is at the location we chose quite strategically, because people from Delhi and Gurgaon will be able to come sort of equidistant, if you will, and then it's very close to the airport as well. So people coming, and there's not only the hotel itself to stay at, but also tons of other hotels in that area as well. So we chose that venue very strategically, and we're very thankful for this partnership that we have with the Leela Group, and we'll obviously hopefully continue to build on it. I'm very excited.
So am I, and so should everybody be, because this is something that they have never seen. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Rafat, today. And I would like to end with your words that you wrote for, the introductory article for Skift India Summit. That this isn't your typical trade conference, because a lineup of speakers are not here to promote their companies.
Yeah.
They're here to share their vision of travel. And if you are interested in knowing about the future of travel, if you aren't there at the Skift India Summit, then you're surely missing out. Thank
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
so much.
Yes. I mean, it's uh, and let me say this and end this. A lot of what we're doing in India is very much thanks to you, Peden, because your enthusiasm and your work is not only are you a journalist, but I feel like you're almost doing this business development pioneering work of expanding us into India, which is not a typical role for a journalist, but you've taken it, and obviously it's your confidence. You give us confidence to expand into India as well. So we're very excited about that.
Thank you
And
so much, Rafat.
I'll say this last thing. One of the things that happens at our conferences, one of the things that happens at typical conferences is people are out in the hallways talking to each other, don't listen to the sessions. This is a typical experience at a lot of conferences. At our conferences, people come and sit and listen. Sure, the networking opportunities, and we make sure there are lunch breaks and networking breaks and all different networking opportunities, opening event, etc. But it's the editorial that people love, and then obviously the people that are in the room, not just on stage but in the room, are very high level people, and so hopefully you'll see that and will want to be part of that as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Rafat. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Skift India podcast. Do remember to subscribe to the Skift India podcast on your favorite listening app and share it with others. Thank you very much.
This has been the Skift India Travel Podcast. Thank you for listening.